Inside a paper mill workshop, a threading machine starts moving, and in 1 second, its momentum turns the work zone into a rolling hazard. Never ever step into the movement path of a threading machine or rotating roller, even for just a second. Inside a machining bay, a worker leans into a milling machine's workspace to inspect something, and the machine suddenly starts cycling. Never, ever place your head or upper body beneath a press ram or moving machine component without full lockout and verified energy isolation. On a busy street-side loading zone, workers unload heavy stacked boards from a truck, and one unstable shift sends the tall pile tipping outward in a split second. Tall stacked panels with a high center of gravity can tip without warning. Never ever stand beside or below an unsecured load during unloading. In a small machine shop, a worker stands near a large rotating faceplate on a lathe, and in 1 second, the spinning mass turns into a high-energy danger zone. Never ever stand directly in the rotational plane of a large lathe faceplate or unsecured workpiece while it is spinning. Inside a steel fabrication workshop, a long metal shaft spins on a lathe, and in seconds, the unsupported stock flexes into an unstable rotating hazard zone. Long rotating stock can flex and become unstable at speed. Never ever operate a lathe with unsupported extended material or stand within the rotational path of a protruding bar. Inside a large industrial workshop, a massive blue machine is running while 2 workers stand dangerously close to its moving structure. Energy builds quietly, and a piece of the machine snaps outward as vibration increases. Approaching moving components or standing on equipment that has not been fully shut down is never ever acceptable. What feels like a minor vibration can instantly turn into a powerful mechanical shove. In a busy truck yard, a worker works on a large gas cylinder on the ground. Then, in an instant, it gets loose and launches forward. Never ever drag, roll, or handle a pressurized gas cylinder without a valve cap and proper restraint, because one damaged valve can turn that cylinder into a rocket instantly. A compressed gas cylinder contains extremely high internal pressure. If the valve breaks, escaping gas produces thrust equal and opposite to the jet flow, turning the cylinder into a rocket driven by pure reaction force. This is it's physics. Protect the valve, restrain the cylinder, and never drag or roll pressurized tanks freely. Stored pressure will always find a way out. In a narrow loading yard, a truck container is being unloaded when a heavy metal pipe suddenly slides, free, turning gravity into a fast-moving rolling hazard. Standing in the drop zone or side path of unsecured cargo is never ever acceptable, because one rolling pipe can become unstoppable in seconds. Inside a wide factory floor, a forklift moves through the workspace like normal until a sudden flash turns the entire machine into a rolling fire hazard. Never ever operate or work near a forklift with fuel, hydraulic, or electrical defects, because one ignition source can turn the whole vehicle into an instant fire hazard. Forklifts contain multiple ignition risks: electrical arcing, hot engine components, and pressurized hydraulic fluid or fuel vapor. Once vapors ignite, combustion expands rapidly, and heat transfer can escalate the fire in seconds. This is what happens when leaks meet ignition. Inspect forklifts daily, repair leaks immediately, and shut down any machine showing smoke, odor, or overheating. Fire spreads faster than reaction time. At the edge of a canal, an excavator holds its bucket above the water while work continues nearby. One wrong movement and gravity turns the space below into a drop hazard zone. Do stay clear of raised buckets, and do lower attachments before approaching. Gravity acts instantly. Excavator buckets are supported by hydraulic pressure, and any hose rupture, valve failure, or control input can release that pressure without warning. Once support is lost, gravity accelerates the bucket rapidly toward the ground. This is pure gravity plus hydraulic risk. Never work beneath raised attachments. Lower the bucket, block it, and lock out controls before anyone enters the danger zone. Inside a workshop, a worker grips a tool on a drum and pulls hard, but the moment it breaks loose, stored force rebounds instantly. Never apply excessive hand pressure on a stuck part, because sudden release can cause uncontrolled rebound and rapid tool movement. In a parking lot, two people struggle with a damaged vehicle front end, and one sudden release turns the hood into a trap. Never, ever position yourself between a vehicle and an unsecured hood or panel that can suddenly drop. A hood is a heavy hinged load, and gravity will pull it downward the moment support shifts or the latch releases. The hinge creates leverage, meaning even a small release produces a fast closing arc. A hood is not held open unless it's mechanically locked. On a work site, in a repair bay, a car sits with the hood open, but the real danger is the slick oil spreading across the floor. Do not leave spilled motor oil on a work floor because it turns the ground into a slip trap. Never, ever in seconds, motor oil reduces friction drastically, turning concrete into a low-grip surface. Once shoes lose traction, the body's momentum carries forward, making recovery difficult and repeated slips more likely. This wasn't bad luck, it was bad housekeeping. At a roadside work area, a massive rotating drum stands exposed, and the space around it becomes a danger zone the moment it spins. Never, ever approach or work beside an unguarded rotating drum or drive system while it is in motion. On a remote job site, two workers stand on scaffold platforms beside a dump truck, and one wrong lean turns the edge into a drop zone.
Do stay inside scaffold guardrails and use proper fall protection. Never, ever when working at height or reaching over edges. When a worker leaned outward, their center of mass shifts past the platform edge, removing stability. Gravity instantly takes control, and the guardrail becomes a pivot point instead of a barrier. Guardrails are not meant to be leaned on like workbenches. In an outdoor yard, a worker raises an axe high beside a tree stump, and one bad swing sends the tool snapping back under full force. Never, ever swing an axe without stable footing, proper grip, and a clear strike zone free of any part of your lower body. Inside a high-rise apartment, workers remove a large window panel, and without warning, the glass surface suddenly shatters. Never, ever stand directly on or apply concentrated force to unsupported glass during removal or installation. Tempered glass stores internal stress, and once edge pressure or uneven force exceeds its limit, the entire panel releases energy instantly. The fracture spreads across the surface in milliseconds, causing total structural failure. Glass doesn't crack slowly, it fails completely. Don't forget to share what you learned today in the comments. Your insight could save a life. Take care.